Welcome again to the newest member to this channel, Michael Coop. He joined as a mid-cap member and the latest subscriber, Villasid. Look, these are very difficult names, okay? After huge demand, I have been tasked with making a Bitcoin Cash video, and that's what this is all about. I've made a few Bitcoin Cash videos in the past, and they've been very successful. This one is probably going to be the most far forward looking one that you'll have seen on YouTube before. And on a recent video of mine, I drew this trend line as like the most simple trend line you could ever draw on a Bitcoin chart. And it essentially shows that every single time we come down to the trend line, you know, we're off again for a massive bull run. From this trend line touch to the peak, this is for Bitcoin, bear in mind, was 11, almost 12,000%. And from this bottom right down in here, that was the COVID dip, to the top was 1,541. And so you would assume that there is massive upside at this area, right? And so because these things kind of take a while to play out, so from this low right here, which was actually the bottom of the market, all the way to the peak of this cycle took 1,058 days. Placing that on the chart here leads us way out into the future, right? But if I do look at 1,058 days from now, we do actually land in 2025. And 2025 is a date I've been talking about on this channel for ages as the year that we'll be retiring as. And if we are in fact looking at potentially, you know, these monstrous gains that we've seen in the past from the trend line, then actually we wouldn't need an alt season this cycle, and we wouldn't need to buy at the bottom of the bear market. In that argument, we're already there, and we're going to see that steady climb for the next kind of 3 years to reach the top of the market. Bearing that in mind, we're going to look at Bitcoin Cash and some of the interesting levels that the price has come down to and bounced off as well. The first one that I see right initially is this low that we made last week on the 13th of June. Place that line on there, follow it down to the side, and you can see that actually this was an interesting support spot on the week of the 28th of January 2019 and was a resistance spot on the 10th of December 2018. So this is an interesting area that we've bounced off. Obviously, I think it makes the most sense when you look at the chart. Anyone can tell you this. You know, you don't really want to be taking out the lows for this. And just to kind of give you an idea of where we are in terms of the RSI, just have a look. Back here on the 3rd of December 2018, which was the ultimate bottom of the market, the RSI for Bitcoin Cash didn't even leave this range that we have. On the extremes of moments in crypto, the RSI does leave and breach out into these new areas. And you can see that every time it's happened, every time there's been a peak for Bitcoin Cash, it has been above these areas. But in the absolute low of Bitcoin Cash in the past, it didn't even breach to the downside. And then look where we are right now. We've breached it, and not just breached it, I'll zoom in even further here to make this absolutely clear. We've actually flatlined at the bottom. When you see it go flat at the bottom, it usually means that momentum is slowing down. So on the weekly chart, that is looking really good. Let's move up the charts and look at the 3-day. Again, the 3-day is way down below. It's flattened out just like it had here, actually, interestingly. So that doesn't necessarily show on the 3-daily chart that the reversal is coming. The price did reverse from this point only a tiny bit, just to come back down again. Let's look back in history and the significance of this moment. Well, actually down in the RSI down in here, that was the bottom of the market all the way up for a massive reversal. Are there any other instances? There are no other instances of breaching to the downside. Breaching to the downside on the 3-daily is a bit hit and miss. One time it worked with to massive proportions. The other time, most recently, didn't work and actually didn't cause a reversal. So that's quite interesting. Let's move down to the daily chart and look at the occurrences of being down in the dumps on the RSI on the daily chart too, especially to this degree. You can see, again, this is the one that appeared on the 3-daily where we were below and it didn't actually cause a reversal. Going further back, this one was the bottom of a reversal. This one ultimately was as well a bottom of a big run that we had. And this one also, again, was the bottom of, and I think the thing we're picking up here is that buying down in these areas with the RSI for these coins is actually ultimately a really good spot, because I'm looking there if I buy when the RSI is this low on the daily. I'm looking here when I buy when the RSI is low on the daily, and here again, you know, these are all fantastic moments to be buying, right? So arguably looking at the RSI on the daily seems to be the best way to be looking for the deals in the market. Recently with Black Swan events, maybe that hasn't been reliable, but typically the percentages show us that when you buy down in the bottom of the RSI on the daily for Bitcoin Cash, those are usually really good deals. So lots to think about, and that's all very interesting, but shall we see what the projections are for the 2025 bull run, if we are in fact at the bottom right now? I made a whole document about the 3.2 Fibonacci extension price list. This list was just an accumulation of coins that were suggested to me that were to be drawn a Fibonacci extension on them. Was you mark the top of the Fibonacci here, drag it down to the bottom of the bear market. That gives you the next bull run's target at the 3.2 level. The 3.2 level is my own custom number that I kind of trust, and that acts as my sell-off point in any instance, right? When I look over a long time period, like I am here for Bitcoin Cash. And actually all of this still plays out. All of this still applies. You take the peak of the 2017/18 bull run, which was at 4,266, drag it down to the bottom, which was on the 14th of December, all the way down there at kind of $75. And the 3.2 line comes out at $13,487. And that is monstrous. From today's price to the 3.2 is 11,000%, much like what we saw from Bitcoin itself at the bottom of a bear market too, once it hit that trend line. So for all of those people who think Bitcoin Cash cannot do this, Bitcoin itself did the exact same percentage growth in 2015 all the way up to the 2018 bull run. That was a 3-year bull run for Bitcoin, which, although Bitcoin has been reliable and on an uptrend, doesn't perform as well as the altcoins, right? It underperforms versus the altcoins. So if Bitcoin can do it, Bitcoin Cash can do it. And if we're treating this as the bottom that's come in, and if Bitcoin is bouncing off this trend line, which will be interesting because it has done in the past, every single time. And we're at an interesting zone for Bitcoin Cash as well when I draw this horizontal ray right here. I'm focusing back on in 2019 where we had this secondary dip where it bounced off and never returned back down. If I draw the line there and then you follow it across, look exactly where we bounced off. Same levels. Very interesting, conducive to the fact that Bitcoin's bouncing off a trend line. And obviously it takes off to the absolute moon. But you read this thumbnail and clicked it because you want to know how much Bitcoin Cash you actually would need to retire by this 2025 bull run, where the price does reach up to $13,487. Well, by my calculations, you actually need $750,000 to be able to retire on an 8% annual interest yield in an account like Nexo or Voyager or Freeway. That's a 0.66% interest every single month and would actually generate $5,000 from that $750,000. That's $5,000 a month. And so the magic number that you're looking for, as in the amount of Bitcoin Cash tokens you need to retire by 2025, is 55.6 Bitcoin Cash tokens. So it'd be interesting for you now to go and have a look to see how many tokens you have at present and whether that's enough just to sit on and wait for that 3.2 target to come in. So if you've got $6,560 waiting to be put into a coin, put into a token, that at the present prices will buy you enough Bitcoin Cash to retire at the 3.2 level. That's quite affordable. If you want to suggest new coins for me to look into, currently I'm going through all of the coins that are on my 0.236 document. You can download that as the link right at the bottom of my description. That includes all the coins I have the most belief in based on the historical Fibonacci placement. So check that out. And also if you have those suggestions for other coins, then make sure you become a member. Because as you know from a recent video, I don't read the comments anymore, so I'm not going to see your comment suggestions. So join as a member and let me know in there and I'll respond to every single message.